This is Jarrod Horak for the RunawayHorse.com, and I'm back to preview another Breeders' Cup 2021 race. I'm going to look at the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile in this race. Some other races that I have covered. I've covered the Distaff, the Classic, and then I've also covered the Filly and Mare Sprint. Now, if you're interested in my Breeders' Cup analysis, full cards for Friday, November 5th, Saturday, November 6th from Del Mar, you will be able to find those at the RunawayHorse.com on my sales page, Breeders' Cup Week. You can pre-purchase those now, and then as soon as those full cards are complete, after they've drawn the final entries with morning line odds, and I finish up my analysis and my wagering strategies, I will be sending those out via email, Breeders' Cup Week. But right now, if you're interested in my full cards from Santa Anita Park for the month of October, you can find those on my sales page at therunawayhorse.com. Closing weekend at Santa Anita Park this weekend, October 31st is their final day of the fall meet, and they will be having mandatory payouts for all their pools, including the Rainbow Six. I'll be covering full cards each day from Del Mar during their Bing Crosby season, November 3rd through 28th, including both of those Breeders' Cup full cards. And if you're interested in looking at more of my free selections, you will be able to find those at horseracing.nation.com, my daily best bets blog. And then I also have other stake selections at therunawayhorse.com, and I will provide links in the description in this video for those items if you're interested in any of that. Now we're going to look at, for Saturday, November 6th, we're going to look at the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile with $1 million purse for 3-year-olds and up, and they're going to be traveling 1 mile around 2 turns on the main track at Del Mar. And the post time for race 6 for the Breeders' Cup Saturday race is 4:19 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'll look at these pre-entries in alphabetical order. They're going to be drawing the final entries next week with odds and post positions and everything. But this is the horses that have pre-entered the race, and some of them have pre-entered more than one race. Like the first one I'm going to talk about, CZ Rocket. Now, CZ Rocket is also pre-entered in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and for the most part, CZ Rocket is a sprinter, likes to run 6 furlongs. Peter Miller claimed this one a while back, won a bunch of races, went 5 for 9 last year, having a very good year. Also ran in the Breeders' Cup Sprint last year and finished second. Won a couple races earlier this year at Oaklawn Park, and then just hit the board in his last 4 starts. So he likes to get involved late, rally from off the pace. He's won 1 time in his career at 1 mile, and he raced 1 mile this year at Lone Star in the slop. That was the Steve Sexton mile, and was a clear second there as the beaten favorite. So overall, probably the Sprint is going to be the race that CZ Rocket ends up in. But if he does run in this race, look for him to try to get involved late. 8 rings for trainer Bob Baffert, 1 for 4 at Del Mar. This one way back of August of 2019, won his career debut at Del Mar. And then in the Del Mar Futurity, he threw his rider, and then he won the American Pharoah Stakes after that. And then he was beaten in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He was 6/12, and then he went off form. That race was the beginning of a tailspin for him. But he was able this year to run better in a couple races. A neck defeat in the Grade 1 Bing Crosby. Then they stretched him back out in distance against Optional Claiming Company. Only 3 rivals last time. He was completely the controlling speed. He got out there, and he won easily by 4 lengths. So he's one that likes to get to the front. He doesn't need the lead. He can press the pace. But this is a tough ask. We really don't know where he is from a class standpoint, since he did beat Optional Claiming Company. He ran a decent race in the Bing Crosby, stalking the pace, but does he really want to run against Grade 1 company around 2 turns when the pace is probably going to be pretty lively in here? Ginobili is one that really got good. Go way back to the 2020 Grade 2 San Vicente when Nadal won that one, and Ginobili battled on the lead and really gave Nadal a fight that day and finished 3/4 of a length behind that one. It was a good effort in that race. And then he kind of, just like 8 rings, kind of got into a tailspin. It seemed like after that race, maybe he was a 3-year-old that was going places, but then he lost his form. And then they put blinkers on for his last couple starts. That really shook him up and got him going again. At Del Mar, in an optional claiming one other than race in July, he tracked the pace from the outside post, took over, and he won by almost 10 lengths. And they jumped him right into the Grade 2 Pat O'Brien at Del Mar after that at 7 furlongs. in August, and he tracked from second, and he won that one by a little less than 2 lengths, defeating CZ Rocket that day and Flagstaff, pretty solid sprinters in that sprint division. So Ginobili is now going to stretch back out. Really good form. His numbers really jumped up in those last couple. He did show good ability earlier on, as I said, in that San Vicente. So he's finally back into that kind of form and living up to that potential that we knew he had, and he finally was able to put it together. He's 3 for 4 at Del Mar, 1 for 1 at the 1 mile distance when he won on July 17th at Del Mar. So he's a little bit interesting. He's probably going to be tracking the pace, but this is definitely a step up in class. Jasper Prince is going to be coming in from Japan. He won last time out in a 16-horse field that was at 7 furlongs. Overall, he's 5 for 25 lifetime. He has a couple seconds and 3/3. Just seems like a hard-knocking type coming in from Japan, but he's probably a bit up against it. Life is Good is probably going to be the one to catch. He was in Bob Beffert's barn, and he was considered the top 3-year-old in the country earlier this year when he won the Sham Stakes, and then he won the San Felipe Stakes. He defeated his stablemate Medina Spirit in the Sham Stakes, and then Medina Spirit would go on to win the Kentucky Derby. Life is Good in that San Felipe. He beat Medina Spirit by 8 lengths that day, and then he got injured. He moved from Todd Pletcher's barn from Bob Beffert's barn. He missed the Triple Crown Series, but he did come back in that Grade 1 Alan Jerkins, 7 furlongs at Saratoga over the summer. But he unfortunately ran into Jackie's Warrior that day. But he was the favorite. He battled on the pace, and he just missed by a neck, well clear of the show finisher. So that was a good effort that day, off of that long layoff from March to August, making his first start for his new connections. And then last time out, they stretched him to 1 mile, but that was a 1-turn mile, the Grade 2 Kelso handicap. And in that race, he was battling on the pace against 3 rivals, but he was really in control. The pace was slow, and he was able to just dominate that race, pulled well clear to win by more than 5 lengths. So now he's going to stretch back out around 2 turns. Seems ready. He's 1 for 1 at Del Mar. He won his career debut at Del Mar 2020, the fall of 2020. He won by 9 lengths, just dominating that race. He's gone to the front in all 5 of his career starts. So look for Life is Good to try to get out there, set the pace, and try to keep on going. 1 for 1 at Del Mar, 2 for 2 at 1 mile. Certainly a solid pace factor in this race. Mind Control for trainer Todd Pletcher. He likes to stalk the pace, and he's stretched back out for the first time in quite some time. He's a multiple graded stakes winner. He's won a graded stakes earlier this year, the John Nehrud. That was 7 furlongs on the 4th of July. He dueled on the lead, and he held on nicely by a head that day. And then the Parks Dirt Mile, they stretched him out last time out. He stalked from 4th. He got the first run, and he won by a head. That was a good effort. He's going to be stalking the pace again. And overall, he's run 3 times at 1 mile with 2 wins and a second. So he's kind of resurging. It seemed like he lost his way, and then he found his way again in 2 of his last 3 starts. Pingxiang is the next one coming in from Japan, back-to-back victories at 7 furlongs in 16-horse fields, and he was the favorite in both of those races. But this is probably a much tougher test for the 4-year-old colt. 4 for 13 lifetime with 3 seconds and a third. Just think he's probably in a bit too deep. Restrainedvengence he's an overachieving 6-year-old gelding. He's running a bunch of stakes races, and he just tries hard. Doesn't matter what the surface is. He's run on all-weather ground. He's 1 for 1. He's run 22 times on turf with 5 wins. He's run 11 times on dirt with 4 wins. He's closing in on $1 million in career earnings, 10 for 34 with 4 seconds and 3/3. Exits a victory in a minor stakes race at 1 mile and an 1/8 on the main track. He's probably up against it, but it's a fun horse. He just tries hard. And he'll just give his all in here. But his all is probably not enough. Silver State is one that likes to win races for trainer Steve Asmussen. He's 4 for 6 this year. He had a nice win streak that started in the fall of 2020, and it went all the way through the spring of this year. And that win streak culminated in the Met Mile with a nice victory there. He can kind of run in different distances. The 1-turn mile in the Met Mile, 7 furlongs is a good distance for him. He won a stakes race at 1 mile around 2 turns, 1 mile and a 16th. He won the Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap at 1 mile and an 1/8. The Parks Dirt Mile last time, he had a bad start and he missed by a head. Mind Control won that one. So he just goes out there and he just tries hard every time. He was in the Whitney. He finished third behind Nick Scale at Maxfield. So he has a lot of class. A mile is probably a good distance for him. And he's got that patient style. We can sit there within striking range, and if the leaders come back, he's going to pounce on them. Snapper Sinclair for Steve Asmussen. He's another cool horse that just kind of runs on anything. On turf, he's run 11 times with 4 wins. He's won on a wet track before. He's won on a fast track. He's 2 for 17. I think maybe overall he's best on turf, and he really loves Kentucky Downs. He won the TVG Stakes there. He's won stakes races at Kentucky Downs and other races at that venue in the past. And then they shipped him to Santa Anita on the downhill turf course in the Grade 2 Eddie D last time, and he rallied from off the pace from the outside post, and he missed by a half length. I think they were probably thinking that the turf sprint was a bit short for him, and they wanted to run him in a longer race. So maybe this could be the spot that he ends up going in. We'll have to see. But I don't know that a mile on dirt, if he's fast enough to win, but he goes out there and he gives a good account of himself usually. Stilleto Boy is the final pre-entrant, and he's also entered in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He was second in back-to-back. He was second last time in the Grade 1 Awesome again, and then third in the Shared Belief in back-to-back races, and Medina Spirit beat him in both of those races. He won the Iowa Derby earlier this year. Regardless if he goes into Classic or if he goes in this spot, he's probably up against it. But his speed figures are pretty good. Last time was his best career speed figure. Not as good as the top contenders in here. Looking at his overall form, his speed figures in his recent races have gone up. That's a good sign, but he's still not fast enough. He's a 3-year-old gelding, just doesn't look fast enough to beat these. So that's my look at the Dirt Mile. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And I will be back, and I'm going to be covering the next Breeders' Cup race that I'm going to look at this week is the Breeders' Cup Sprint.